Hello and welcome. This is Bit Ahead. I'm going to do a little bit of analysis work on this Anji versus Go Lewis footage I found from the Game Storage channel. They're like a highlight channel. Take stuff from the Strive online gameplay footage, and I felt like there's some cool things that both players really did in the matchup that I thought was very interesting. So let's get into it real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Duel 1. Let's rock.
Also, I apologize, it's a little scuffed. Got some reset pressure right there with Fujin, and then Jiro trying to start his offense. Something that's very interesting here is that Jiro loves to do Shitsu pressure in his block strings in moments that you don't really expect it. While Shitsu actually has like a lengthy amount of startup, it was buffed last patch, so you can kind of get away with it. Your option here as Go Lewis, honestly, is that in this circumstance, because you're backed up into the wall, you can't really escape from behind. And so Jiro's actually jumping here to try to catch up forward fuzzy jump to try to escape the pressure. Though to be fair, Go Lewis is so big that there's no real escape in this circumstance, right? You got burst right here, drone and Shitsu. These essentially, the drone actually will beat the Shitsu normally, but Go Lewis actually walks into the Shitsu first and foremost. Spin right through, keep the pressure going. Into a wall break. Chose not to use super, probably using it to gamble. And potentially wake up throw. We got the cross up situation right there. Once again, in this circumstance, Jiro has so much resources that it makes it very difficult for the Go Lewis player to really close out the game without a solid knockdown. But that's all really Go Lewis really needs. That's unfortunate. This lost RPS situation there. Clone will confirm, gets a dub. Last time Jiro started with 2D, I'd like to see what the adaptation may be. We got a backdash. Some fussies. 6P. 6P the god. Anji 6P goes very far and right above his head. Not as good as Tessin, of course. That risk is so cranked up from all that pressure. Similar situation as last time, but this time, Jiro, we go back for a second, jumps upwards instead. Similar to the pressure that we saw earlier, actually, in the corner, where Go Lewis was cornered, Shitsu comes out, second barfly comes out. You can't really contest this space because of Shitsu right here. So in turn, what Go Lewis ends up doing is dashing underwards, right? Following his drone, which I think was an excellent option. Really, escaping behind doesn't really do anything. It just further puts you back into the corner. And given the circumstance regarding Go Lewis's life bar, the lack of resources on hand, no burst, no meter, he kind of needs to take a more aggressive approach if he wants to try to win the game. Immediate burst, because you don't want to fuck around with that. Nice simple checks. Probably looking for a down system YRC there. I love the BT in response here. This is actually something really important to understand about these types of circumstances. So the Go Lewis player immediately challenges, get hits by the butterfly, but BT's immediately. See, the hit's done so low that you can pretty much act immediately, and the BT is such a high reward given the circumstance of where the screen. The thing about Go Lewis that's very interesting is that he dominates this space right in front of him. Right? You can't really contest Go Lewis very well for many characters in the game if you're in this kind of domain, right? As Anji in particular, Anji's buns not being the longest, the only thing he can really do in this particular area is to gamble with some normals or to gamble with a spin, which creates RPS situations. Let's continue. BT reversal. BT again. Something you'll notice that Jiro doesn't like to sit still after being knocked down. Shitsu, similar situation as last time, but the adaptation here was to, instead of allowing Jiro to run his pressure, was the BT using 684, which covers airspace in front of him. This is actually a very intelligent line of play, especially because he has the life bar, or the life, to actually tank this hit. Now he can actually challenge right here normally instead of having to jump up and that's previously mentioned. This is actually very smart. Now he's recovered, tries to attempt to chase down, fails. Jiro a little bit too early with 6P and unfortunately loses around for that. A little bit too late. I have to go back. It's fine. What's up in Gambit? Interesting. Wall break. Yeah, Anji's a very high damage character. Unfortunately misses his BT on Oki. GK, bad burst. That's probably not the game. Oh, drops it. Yeah, that combo's a little weird on heavies. That's why I like to do Nagia, but let's see. He's pressure going. Jiro does 5D shenanigans. Sit still. That button's silly. Ko's a hilarious button. You see how weird I hit? That's wild, bro. That's crazy. Far slash round start here, right? Jiro did 2D earlier to beat round start far slash, or not to beat it, but essentially quote unquote ties. But this time he backs up. I love the 5K usage there, really trying to check for the 2Ds. Once again, Jiro doing his thing. This time, the second hit, the butterfly, actually ends up hitting Goku. He was not ready to really challenge at all. Jiro pre-commits to Ko here, which would actually with so the pre-commit to Ko is very interesting because with using the spin, it actually would soaked up the BT. The butterfly would hit Gold Lewis. He potentially gets the punish afterwards. It's an interesting option. And Jiro doing his thing. This circumstance again. Gets hit low. Press backdash, but I looked at it. Backdash this time. Nice IP. Once again, does the BT there and chases Jiro down with a second BT, this time in the air. Not sure if that was a misinput or not. We got some pressure. Okay. This time, Jiro decides to do an empty Fujin. Empty Fujin carries a lot of risk if their opponent merely challenges, but they rarely do because they're waiting for opportunity. If you have a beat on your opponent that's going to wait and see what the option afterwards is going to be, empty Fujin is actually usually a very good option if they're not merely trying to mash out with some sort of button. If they are trying to use some sort of fuzzy OS, like fuzzy mashing, fuzzy jumping, stuff like that, they're typically trying to actually just wait and react. I like the option. Ooh, you'd love to see it. If done correctly, you can loop this scenario, but he fails at that time, so he's unable to loop it. That's a very good circumstance for Anji, because if you do like a very close knockdown with Shitsu, you can actually do some more stuff like plus R. This time, Jiro starts with 2D and attempts to stop far slash or tie, as I said earlier, and he gets caught by BT. Very scary situation. Wake up throw, please go for the player. We got some Anji stuff. Anji pressure. This time he's going to spin the bar. It's a very tough situation, honestly. You don't really want burst here, because how do you win? Oh, that's how you win. Oh no. That sucks. The situation actually became so good to so bad for Goku so quickly. Went from bad to good to bad. So the BT here was very useful right here to get a hard knockdown. However, he sets up drone here, which is a very normal thing to, because he gambled on movement instead of any sort of button or actually anything really. It said this blocking in this circumstance, right? He's actually cracked the wall with the BT, which means Golus is not in range to do anything in particular. It's like to do down with the system to actually get the kill here. So because of that, the drone ends up killing the wall here, and then now Jiro has 2 bars and burst to gamble with. Okay, that gamble's very interesting. Really trying to cheese out the win right there. But you know, this is where we are now. We got burst. Ooh, the BT from downtown. And he's plus because he blocked that shit in the air. You hate to see it, or you love to see it. Depends on his purchase. I love to see what the adaptation is here. Fusion round start. Something I want to say about Fusion round start is that I think it's actually a very good option for Anji players. Oh, drop combo. Hold on. Let me finish my thought real quick. I think it's actually a really good option for Anji players if your opponent doesn't have burst. The reason I say this is because it's one of the highest damage counter hit round starts in the game. So you can get like this massive lead right at the beginning of the game where you break the wall, you're in positive bonus, you've done half their life. It's very good. In turn, if you're playing against Anji and you don't have burst round start, you should be very careful of it. But you know, we got the corner swap, beautiful, you love to see it. Massive damage against Gold Lewis. Does not actually use down with the system, but he has Mirror to gamble with. He goes ahead and gambles with BRC. Drops the combo unfortunately, but you know, keeps the pressure going. Unable to finish it right there. Drone walks up safely behind the fireball. You love to see it. Honestly, I really loved how he played the. He really snowballed with that round. Run up 2D. Pressure. Once again, using Butterfly to kind of cover his approach there. And once again, similar situation. Got punished on something, so I think he might have missed the input there. I really like how the Gold Lewis player is trying to chase down Jiro with BTs. And Jiro keeping his pressure nice and tight. And it is hard to challenge here, really. We go for a corner swap one. And we got some gambling on thing. I assume that was a situation where you're just trying to challenge, trying to do something, trying to close the game. There's not much to really say here. 5P round start. And a great pause screen. 5P round start is typically a pretty good round start for Anji. Just because it's a very safe, very active button. It's 5 frames active, 6 frames startup. So you catch a lot of things on round start. The downside to it is that there's not a lot of reward attached to it. He immediately goes to Fujin. And he does reversal BT after shit. I think it's a pretty good option considering the distance. If the Anji player wants to be really aggressive, he could. There's ways of gambling here. However, I think the risk versus reward for Gold Lewis is actually pretty good in this circumstance. There are some downsides, but you know, if they're not represented, it doesn't matter. Good confirm. We got loops. Looking like plus R. You love to see it. Pressure. Tick throw. That was an attempt to bait the throw. No bite. God burst. Otherwise you lose the round. Not a lot you can do here. That's a good backdash, but once again, you're really precarious position. As a side note, real quick, just to talk about once again Jiro's Anji. I really love the pressure sequences he does with Anji, not always committing to Fujin, and a lot of times attempting to frame trap his opponent and really abuse what Strive's offense is really all about, which is like these real fake plus frames and stuff like that. Galling options and stuff like that. Oh, I missed that. I apologize. Oh no. So Jiro did this earlier as well, where he ended up doing like a preemptive KO, and this is the downfall of all Anji players. KO is not a neutral tool. It's a gamble. It's a huge gamble, and the reward is not usually in your favor. As you can see, we got a corner swap combo, and Jiro is actually in real potential of quote-unquote losing the game. It's really hard to lose in this position. Just because you're set back in neutral, you have meter to gamble with, you BRC, and you catch him in the air. It's so hard to lose in that circumstance, but still the risk versus reward was really not in Jiro's favor.
Duel 1. Let's rock.
Very defensive neutral right now. Nice try on the confirm there. And beautiful 6P. Immediate burst. That would have been a ton of damage. And also put in the corner, which is bad. Tries to throw. Cross up. BT. Since his pressure would have jumped up. D. Jump D is such an amazing poke from Gold Lewis. I love the counter poke there with 2D. As mentioned earlier, because of 2D being a low profile too, it's very good getting under far slash, and in that range, you would definitely smoke it. This is an interesting circumstance that happened right there on Anji's offense. I won't pause it. Essentially, all Anji really did was to commit to the Gowling option instead of going for the tick throw, so it would catch any sort of like motion that the Gold Lewis player was trying for. And not ready for the overhead there. So go lose pressure. And this time Jiro is being very respectful. Decides to gamble a spin there, which I really like. So Golos is actually -5 here, but a lot of Golos players, you know, you can RPS with your opponent here, right? Because you're -5 but you're spaced out, it doesn't mean you should just stop your pressure. There's different ways to approach the circumstance. What Golos here can do is that he can threaten with normals, he can threaten with Behemoth Typhoon, because as I mentioned earlier, Golos kind of like owns this space, right? Like right here to right here, Golos owns this space. Even if he's -5, you can still pressure people, because if Andre decides to not spin but to run up and press like far slash right here, he will get smoked by another BT. He could run up and block and then have to deal with whatever circumstance gets thrown his way. And because of all the risk that's built up over here, any touch is really death at this point. So from the Golos perspective, you want to be aggressive. You want to kind of push your advantage, and you have 3 good pokes to do from BT, normal on the ground, or junk dust, right? So what Jiro does instead is do the Anji special, gamble with spin in this circumstance, and because there's not much of a reason to not be aggressive here in a sense, because you are pushing your advantage, and because of how their playstyle was throughout the game, you know, the Golos player wanted to keep the offense going. I think this was a great read and a good gamble, because really, given the life lead at the moment, Jiro has to make a gamble to get back into this game. I don't like when Jiro does that, but it works out. The rare super. I really love that he does this right here, actually. Let's go back a little bit more right here. So Burn Down is a very odd super. You don't really see it used very often. It's okay, but it's a lockdown super, right? You can't really escape it from going back. So what a lot of like players will do in this circumstance is run forward. If by doing 268 BT, you're able to kind of like cut that avenue right here. Once again, Golos owning all this space and has like very good recovery. Also covers like up here as well, right, with 268. So any sort of approach will get caught by Jiro. Instead, what Jiro ends up doing here is that he ends up backing up into the air and is blocking high. This way you don't take as much risk, you don't take as much chip, you don't have to deal with any sort of like mix-up opportunity that Golos may do when it comes to his pressure until you hit the ground, obviously. I see that BT was a mistake. You love to see it. So there's not much to talk about here, but except for one thing. A lot of players will say that you should just mash reversals on Fujin. This is bad advice, in my opinion. This is something you should know, but in some circumstances, let's say this Fujin was spaced out and he does down with a system, he suddenly loses all resources, he has no burst to play with, Jiro still has burst potentially, and it has Mir coming up soon. It would be a bad gamble. Or arguably a bad gamble, especially considering Jiro actually has represented like 2 or 3 times that he'll do empty Fujin. But in this case, this is great because it's really right here. The risk of reward is so heavily in his favor because if he gets hit by a knockout as he's training, it's just a soft knockdown. Otherwise, any other approach that Jiro does to try to gamble on offense, which Jiro will do it because this is part of his playstyle, and Andres in general, he gets smoked. I love it. So I believe in the previous round, if I'm not mistaken, we saw oh my god, Ko, please help me. We saw a round start that's BT and then Jiro getting smoked by it. By doing backdash into Fujin, you're able to actually whiff punish the BT, which is typically, I mean, not ready for it there. And Jiro with the Ko and with the game, I'm sure, because, you know, Anji. Oh, he misses it, but it's okay. The odds of him losing so low here. What an air throw. And what air throw back. I don't know how Jiro didn't get the air throw the first time. That's a good response. That actually might have been an OS, actually. Hold on, let me go back and see. I'm surprised he didn't get the thing. This is probably OS, actually. A lot of Go Lose players like to do this setup where you do left, right, high. However, you can actually fuzzy jump it. And if you do, like, fuzzy, like if you do a fuzzy jump and do a throw, you can fuzzy jump throw it actually, and you will always grab them if they try to do same side, and if they do cross up, you'll actually block the cross up. The setup isn't real, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. It's a very good awareness from Jiro right there. Love to see it. This time sit still. Lovely punish. Same thing we saw earlier. And I really love the Go Lewis really demanding that space. It's really important when you're fighting someone like this and like that particular playstyle. Once again, the Go Lewis player is being totally fine with taking the bar flight hits. I think it's actually very smart, to be honest. Because your risk versus reward is so much in your favor. Unfortunately, not able to get the BT. That was so deep. A guess for game. Yeah, it's really hard to do something there, right? Because really, when we're really thinking about it, right? Like, what do you do here? You gamble and throw. You can gamble. You can try to IFD here. Maybe he attempted and he failed it. Right here as well. It looks like he was caught jumping because he was standing up, right? His possibility is holding up to try to escape the pressure. It's really rough, right? You're in that circumstance and you're in Go Lewis's like domain, right? I love it. So this time, Jiro backdashes and he kind of like, it looks like he almost autopilots the backdash Fujin forward, try to catch a whiff punish, which he kind of did try to do for the far slash, but the second far slash comes through. Pressure. Backdash is the BT, man. This guy is, yes. I love the jump you there. Oh, reset. I don't love that. But it doesn't matter. I think you win here. Oh, no. Yuba! I thought that was it. That's funny. What? Oh, what jump back to you? Jump, man. Jump dust from Go Lewis is such a good poke. This button is brawlic. It's so good. I love the spin for the second BT there. We saw that earlier. Nice poke. Ooh, because counter hit confirm into a knockdown. I love Jiro's offense and how he mounts his offense. It's fantastic. The more Anji players need to be doing this. Fujin. Really, the odds of you winning here are so low. He actually gambles with BT there. I find that so interesting. I'll wake up, but you know, you're just taking a risk. He's two very passive approaches that time. Once again, I love it. 2S there, I find to be an interesting poke. 2S is actually also disjointed in the bomb side of it, so Jiro used 2D, which he hasn't actually done recently in some of these more recent matches, but it's quite useful. Jiro pressure. Jiro loves to do like stuff like that, where it's fine. There is a general problem with these kind of pressure sequences, right? When you do button into Shitsu, the block stun is not actually that good on it, so you kind of have to do something like this, where you do 2P into Shin. It's okay, Oki. It's not amazing. It's not the best thing in the world, but it's something that you can do. What backdash? Mia Burst does not want to let Go Lewis start playing the game. Shitsu, once again, we've seen this situation so many times, right? Where he does Shitsu, he does drone, and then Jiro usually comes up on top. This time, I believe the Go Lewis player probably tried to run up the pressure and throw. Didn't get it, and this is not a good circumstance to be in if you want an Anji player. Chases down with the air BT. Does not OS it. Was not ready for it. Low. Looks like a drop combo there. And able to get the game. Go Lewis is such a momentum-heavy character. It's quite insane, really. Also, I do apologize for the Q&A curse on the screen. I'm new. I love the Fujin. The rounding's great here, too, because you get the co-pressure. Amazing tech. Immediately taking that space back when we see DT, and the drone come through, follow the drone. Anti-air co-slash? Nope, didn't get it. That's a good stall by Jiro there. Lovely anti-air. Very close, but still able to get the pressure here. Very spaced out. I would love to see Go Lewis. Oh no, why did you do that? I would love to see Go Lewis actually challenge here. Like, I feel like the Go Lewis player, if one thing I would have to say is that, and to anyone who's watching this, if that ever happens, really, I might think about it. is that these circumstances, you need to do something from Anji to stop you from just using Shin over and over again, right? You need to challenge in some way. Typically, a easy challenge is to do jump forward into a button of some sort. And for Gold Lewis, you get one hard knockdown, you potentially win the game, right? So this is very important to understand. If you want like a very easy to understand defensive strategy against Fujin, a lot of times it's easier to react or fuzzy jump forward. And you usually pick between one of the two because usually it does a pretty good job, right? It depends on then how the Anji player adjusts to it. And then like I don't know, Jiro just doesn't want to win the game here. Is how I look at that. I like the Mia challenge that time because the situation wasn't really that plus at all. But Jiro's like, he won the game anyway. Please don't use Ko like that. It's not very good. Anyway, I think that's the end of the video actually. That's tight. I think a lot of the takeaway I would take from this largely is that how does Anji and how does Gold Lewis interact with each other? Gold Lewis as a character has a lot of very unique properties attached to a lot of his normals and like a lot of his neutral tools really when it comes to like disjoints and what he can and can't do and what he has to select. What Jiro did a lot of times was attempt to avoid these tools by using like low profile normal like 2D or attempting to like be outside of that domain I was mentioning earlier and using to whiff punch and then running his offense from there. A lot of the matchup actually really end up boiling down to whoever gets a knockdown really carries forward and really can run that momentum, which is not that surprising. This is Guilty Gear after all, and these are two very I would say Anji's very RPS heavy character. And then you have someone like Gold Lewis, which is very momentum heavy bits character, so it's not particularly surprising. I thought the matchup was quite interesting, and I'll probably keep doing these because it's pretty cool. Thank you for watching if anyone did. My name is Beta. Peace.